Ladies, find yourself a man who loves you as much as Zack Snyder clearly loves overusing slow motion. Hi, my name is Ryan Lane, and welcome to my review channel. So for today's movie, I will be reviewing Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, directed by Zack Snyder, cause duh, and starring Sofia Boutella, Dijon, Honshu, Skrein, Michiel, Huisman, Doona, Staz, Nair, and Free. So, part 2 picks up where the last one left off with Cora, played by Sofia Boutella, and her merry band of mercenaries making their way back to the village after seemingly defeating him in part 1. But thanks to the power of forced Jesus imagery, His Noble, played by Skrein, is now alive, and he is none too happy about dying. And so he is bringing along his big dreadnought of a ship to blow up the village and take all the grain. And not wanting this to happen again, Cora and the rest of the mercenaries, including Titus, Gunner, Nemesis, and Turok, played by Dijon, Honshu, Michiel, Huisman, Doona, and Staz, Nair, respectively, they decide to help the village defend themselves from the Motherworld army. So I've seen many movies over my near quarter-century existence on this planet, and yet I have never seen a movie so high on its own supply like Part 2, The Scargiver is. Like, this film struts around like it is the best science fiction movie this side of Star Wars or Dune, and yet, I mean, honestly, the writing is so embarrassing, not even the Sci-Fi Channel would want to air it on its own channel, for God's sake. The writing has none of the, admittedly, very limited number of mildly interesting character moments that helped keep Part 1 from being a complete train wreck. And in its place are not even attempts, like setups for interesting character dynamics. Like, there's one involving Nemesis and a little boy trying to play into her, guilt over losing her kid. There's a romance between two tertiary characters that I honestly can't remember their names or even their personalities. There's Cora trying to overcome her guilt and, realize that, she's not defined by her actions, I guess. I don't know. The film barely follows through on any of those little arcs I just listed. And the film has the audacity to try and say, hey, if you like this, we have another sequel. It's like, no, Zack Snyder, just abort now. Again, I'm not the hugest fan of your catalog, but I mean, my God, it's like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you are better than this. Or, I don't know, maybe you're not. Maybe this is just the apoptosis of never learning to use another tool beyond slow motion for your movies. Speaking of which, the film turns along at a glacial pace due to a variety of writing faux pas. There are numerous uninteresting montages set to slow motion, of course, with the most egregious example being one where all they do is harvest grain, and yet with the score you'd think that this was the most epic thing you've ever witnessed, but no, it's just them harvesting grain in slow motion. It's not even interesting space grain. It's just grain that looks like regular grain, because, they planted it themselves for the movie, but they forgot to make it interesting. There's no obstacles. It's just, it's like, And not to mention, there's just way too much expository dialogue that just grinds the pacing to a halt. Like, literally, at one point in the movie, Titus, looks around the table and says, hey guys, we should trauma dump. Again, he doesn't use it in those exact words, but that's kind of what he says. Like, it is so inorganic and out of nowhere, and they all go around the table saying, oh, this is me, this is how the Motherworld just completely screwed me over. And, there's no interesting variation to the backstory. It goes, the Motherworld killed my planet, I want revenge. Simple as that. Again, there's no real interesting variation. It's only purely in the aesthetic that there's variation between the characters. And then there's the fact that Korra's backstory, again, her backstory is fleshed out a little bit more, and it could have worked, but her new information is couched in a scene that is so unintentionally hilarious, it reminded me of Madam Web. That's how bad this scene was. Like, there's everything from this super try-hard score that's being diegetically played by this band playing violins with bags over their heads, that it just made me laugh so hard. And then there was Frafri as the villain, the Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine type, and his overacting was just so much. I mean, I feel so bad because this moment is supposed to be big. Like, this involves, Korra's tragic past, and yet I was just laughing my ass off during this scene. It was, oh man. Like, honestly, if the film had had this type of writing, it would, on the one hand, it would have been so much worse, but so much better all at once. So the film's performances are somehow even less compelling than the previous movie. Sofia Boutella once again combines an awkward mix of under and overacting for her performance, and when she tries to be intimidating, it just doesn't work. I'm sorry. I mean, bless her heart, she seems like a nice person, and she's given plenty of good performances, but much like part one, this ain't one of them. Michiel Huisman, he's completely forgettable as Gunnar, Korra's love interest. Frafri, like I said earlier, he is over the top in the worst way possible as the villain, or, well, rather background villain. He gets like one scene in the movie. After that, the film kind of forgets about him. All the other actors in the unimpressive six leave so little of an impression, they're barely worth mentioning. The only two actors who kind of give an okay performance, well, actually not even okay, decent, are Ed Skrein and Anthony Hopkins. Once again, while Ed Skrein is clearly having a ball as a psychotic villain, and again, it's nothing new for either him or cinema, but again, he seems like the only actor who has at least somewhat of a personality fleshed out for him. Anthony Hopkins, who is somehow even more underutilized in this movie than the last. Again, he has some nice dialogue, and, the character does cool stuff, but after that, not too much else. As you can see, I'm kind of reaching here for compliments. So the cinematography is improved upon, if ever so slightly, from the prior film. The film's action scenes aren't nearly as hyper-edited. You can actually tell what's going on in any given sequence, and the spatial continuity isn't violated nearly as hard. You can tell what's going on, and the choreography is alright. However, the action scenes are still hampered by the ungodly amount of slow motion. It's like, Zack Snyder, we need to talk. There are other ways to do cool action scenes. Slow motion is but one of those tools. You need to find a new tool. And the visual effects, they're all about as on par with the prior film, which is to say, they're not all that great. But on the other hand, they do provide a modicum of entertainment, with the lasers a firing and the swords a slicing. It's as far as cheap sci-fi action goes, which is ironic because apparently Rebel Moons Part 1 and 2 cost a collective $160 million. So, I don't know. Again, like I said, pay your animators more money or something. But yeah, like I said, the special effects aren't great, but they get the job done well enough, but nothing more. So containing all of the faults and somehow even fewer of the virtues of the prior film, the Scargiver fails once again to evoke the epic scale of the films that inspired it. So with all that in mind, I will be giving Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, 1.5 out of 5 stars. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. If you like this review and would like to see more like it, be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. And for today's comment section prompt of the day, what is your least favorite Zack Snyder movie and why?